Good morning, everyone. We will get started in just a few minutes. For those of you that have joined already, let me know in the question and answer area if you were in attendance at yesterday's webinar for newer ProTax T2 users. We're using that Q&A area. Oh, hi, Cheryl. Yes, I recognize you from yesterday. Nice to see you again. Thank you so much for coming back. Humphrey, no worries that you missed it. We'll be going through a very quick overview today of what we covered yesterday. Same with you, Trisha. So we'll get some there. We do have it available on the website as well. Speaking of which, I am going to pull that up so that we have it. Morning, Abdul. Morning, Emmanuel. Morning, Mohammed. Okay, we'll be getting started in just a couple of minutes. Hi, Arn from New Brunswick, all the way over on the East Coast. I loved my time in New Brunswick. We did a radio tour there 1 year. It was amazing. Okay, we'll be starting in just over a minute. Where is everybody coming from today? Let me know in the Q&A where you're tuning in from. Humphrey, I'm actually going to go through, I will show you how to get recordings of previous webinars in today's session. Hi, Dagmar from Victoria. So we've got East Coast to West Coast today. I love it. Luke, Big Ramjeet from Toronto. I hope to be in Toronto next month. Vancouver, south of Calgary. Yes, Cheryl, I love it. Edmonton, nice to see Edmonton. I used to live in St. Albert. Leduc, Edmonton. Nigeria, no way. That's awesome, Humphrey. What time is it in Nigeria right now? Oh my goodness. Calgary, yeah, Calgary. Okay, we'll get started in about 30 seconds. Right. Oh, Angelina. I don't think I've ever heard of that place in Alberta. I don't know if it's a small town. I grew up on a farm in Saskatchewan, 68 people, so I know small towns. Hi, Emmanuel from Surrey. All right, it is 5 minutes after. I think we've got most of the people joined this morning, so I am gonna get it going here. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Glad to have you here. If you were here yesterday for the newer user in ProTax T2, thanks for stopping by again. Hopefully you learned some additional information today. And today we are talking about ProTax T2 for experienced users. So it's the advanced edition of ProTax T2. My name is Jason Hasty. I am a CPA CA. I got my master's in accounting at the University of Saskatchewan way back in 2000 and became a CA in 2001. Some information about today's webinar. It is just over an hour long, hour and 15 minutes. And I like to handle webinars with questions throughout the webinar. So we have our question and answer, our Q&A area open for you to ask any questions. Feel free to ask as you go along, and please limit your questions to today's webinar content. I know we have Tanya here today, so thank you so much. Tanya is a superstar, and I'm not sure if we have Duncan here today or not helping out as well. If I can't get to some of your questions, Tanya and or Duncan will be answering them through the Q&A portal. We have the webinar chat turned off, so if you are asking questions, please do it through the Q&A portal. Handouts and CPD certifications will be emailed out to you after today's presentation, so please download those for your records and input them into your CPD systems. Today's course is eligible for 1 CPD credit, and as mentioned, they will be emailed out to you after the webinar. If for some reason you do not get it, please reach out to Intuit and get it through them. Let them know. A disclaimer for today's webinar: all information in this webinar is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not legal or tax advice. Please, this webinar, its contents and presenter are not to be relied upon for tax treatment of items reflected on tax returns. Okay, so let's get on to today's agenda. First off, we'll be talking about books to tax and work papers. I'm going to do a quick overview and I'll go into it a little bit more detailed. Yesterday, I did a very brief overview of that. We will obviously be working with ProTax because we're talking about ProTax T2 today. So we'll be doing an overview, a little bit of kind of a repeat of yesterday's very, very quickly for those of you who weren't here at yesterday's webinar. Then we're going to be looking at tax mapping and seeing how easy it is to use work papers and then to use ProTax through tax mapping. We will also talk about T2 clients who are not on QuickBooks Online. So we get asked that question a lot for ProTax. No, your clients do not have to be on QuickBooks Online to use ProTax. There are a couple of ways. You can start a blank return. You can also do Giphy imports as well. We will also be talking about autofill my return using T2, and I will highlight the importance of having a CRA My account and for your clients, and if they have a business, having the CRA My Business account. Super, super important in today's world. Makes it a lot easier, and ProTax has the ability to do AFR. We'll be going over Intuit Sign again. Awesome feature that is built right into ProTax. Then we'll be talking about doing more with ProTax, looking at some ProTax resources, and then I am going to be doing a live T2 in ProTax, kind of giving you a navigation around ProTax and showing you some of the ins and outs. All right, so let's look at the books to tax overview. ProTax is included in a full ecosystem of Intuit's products that is aligned with QuickBooks Online. So any of your clients that are on QuickBooks Online, you can use the books to tax feature and prepare their working papers, not only their monthly bookkeeping, but their work papers for year end, doing financial statements, and also doing the tax return in ProTax. It is that full ecosystem. To sign up and to get into the ProTax environment, you have to sign up for QuickBooks Online Accountant. That's QBOA. It is absolutely free to get a QBOA account. And the beauty of that is that once you have a QBOA account, you have a client database that not only manages your clients that are on QuickBooks, but it also manages your clients that you just want to keep in that database. And it gives you access to the ProTax portal. It gives you access to ProAdvisor. So in the old days of QuickBooks Desktop, ProAdvisor, there used to be a fee for that. With QuickBooks Online, there is no fee for ProAdvisor. And with that, there's a lot of training resources. I will go briefly through some of those and how to access ProAdvisor, in addition, of course, to accessing ProTax. So that's an explanation of QBOA. We're going to start with the books to tax area with the three areas that are, or three tabs that are in books to tax. I'll go over them briefly and then in detail a little bit later as well. So first of all, we have the books review. The books review tool focuses on common and yet tricky bookkeeping areas. So I talked about this a little bit yesterday. It's basically your month end or period end review. And I've got a question already. So Tammy is asking, are we allowed to download ProTax T2 to try before submitting? Yes, absolutely, Tammy. I will explain that super quick in today's webinar as well. Work papers, that is your year-end preparation for your client's financial statements and or their tax return. So that's the work papers area. One thing that I want to mention about work papers for those of you preparing compilation engagements, things like that, financial statements, it is CSRS 4200 compliant. So it is absolutely compliant with the biggest changes in 35 years in the accounting world. The third tab is the income tax tab, and I will be talking today about how to map your chart of accounts so that it matches the GIFI codes in ProTax and for the CRA. So the CRA requires GIFI codes on the schedule 100 and 125. That is the general index of financial information, and it is super, super easy to have those GIFI codes mapped directly in the books to tax. A question that I get very often is if you are using QBOA for your own firm's books, can you prepare your own return in ProTax? And the answer is yes. Now QBOA has the work papers functionality for your own firm, and you have the ability to map those GIFI codes and then import that into ProTax. You have to go and create your tax return and then do the import through GIFI. We are going to do a GIFI import today, by the way, just so that you see how that works as well. Okay, so to access ProTax, you basically have to be in the QBOA. You can see that QB accountant at the top there. This is where you see the ProAdvisor portal, just a couple of areas above the ProTax. But this is also where you access ProTax. And within ProTax, you have access to all of their modules. You can directly access a module through here, or if you click on, say, the T1 by accident, once you hit the ProTax dashboard, you can switch between T1, T2, etc. One thing that I like to note here as well, bookmarks is something that came out maybe a year ago within QBOA, and also for your clients who are using QuickBooks Online. For those areas that you use a lot, it's very easy to create a bookmark and then jump directly to those areas. Tammy had a question about accessing ProTax. So in general, the way ProTax works, it's an annual subscription. So you pay one fee for use of ProTax in that module or that bundle or that suite that you choose. And that gives you a year of unlimited returns for you and anyone else in your firm or company. You have the ability to try out ProTax for free. You can also now just file one return. So you don't have to purchase the annual subscription if you're trying ProTax out. Intuit has now given you the ability to file just one return, and the prices are on your right-hand side here for T1, T2, and T3. And then note again, these amounts are for each module, but you can do bundle and suite pricing to save money overall if you're buying more than one module, such as like T1 and T2. The years that ProTax covers, I see that I did not update this slide. I updated yesterday's slide, but I forgot to include 2024. So it actually goes, T1 goes to 2024, and then the T2 goes to 2025. Because in a corporate environment, we have fiscal year ends that can end at any time in the year. So obviously we are in May already of 2025. So ProTax T2 covers up to 2025. And then of course, T1 covers up to 2024. So apologies for not updating this slide. I did, yeah, as I mentioned, dated yesterday's slide. Okay, so Maxine has a question. How many persons can use the ProTax license? So how ProTax works is it works for users in your firm. So users that have access to your QBOA, when you give them access to clients, they will be able to prepare tax returns for any client that they have access to. So I think technically it's maybe unlimited. I don't know, Tanya, you could probably answer that a little bit better than I am, but I have not seen, I'm just trying to think. In Tenjago, in my company, I think we probably have like 20 or 30, and it hasn't been an issue yet. So anybody that has access and is in your firm. And that's the users that you add to your firm in QBOA. Okay, just want to glance over help again, because I think this is a really important thing. With ProTax, you have help included at no additional cost. And seriously, their support is really, really good. So anytime that somebody says, oh, I was using this in ProTax and I didn't know how to do this, or this was happening, I just say, have you used the help before? Because their help is really, really great, truly. And I have used it many times as well. In this, you can chat with a support agent. You can call their phone number. There's also online help as well. And when you call or you do the chat, you have the ability to do a screen share. And screen shares are so nice because then the support agent can see actually what you're doing and can point you in the right direction. Tammy says, I don't have an e-file number. Am I allowed to use ProTax? Yes, with ProTax, you can use the web access codes as well. So you don't necessarily have to have an e-file number. I'm not sure why you don't have one, Tammy, but I strongly encourage you to get an e-file number, and I'll be talking about that today as well. Another area that I wanted to highlight is the help videos. So this is a QR code that will take you to the help videos. And I can't remember who asked me at the start about yesterday's recording. I'm just going to show you quickly. So here is the Intuit Accountants Canada YouTube channel. And on this YouTube channel are a ton of different videos. They are videos from the past that helps you to look at certain areas of ProTax. A lot of the videos are like 3 minutes or less, so not super long. Yeah, interesting, Tammy. Tammy's just said that CRA told her because she only had 5 clients last year, they won't give her an e-file number. That is really, really interesting. Duncan, thank you for answering that. I have never heard of that. That's crazy. You do have the ability to do the web access codes as well. So hopefully that helps you, Tammy. I see here on one of the videos, you've got Tanya, and you will have Tanya in a lot of the videos. She is an expert on a lot of things ProTax, as well as profiles. So tons of videos, very easy to access those on the Intuit Accountants Canada website. Okay, let me jump back to, okay, so here's the QR code again and a list of some of the videos. Okay, somebody else is telling. Interesting. I have never heard that. That's crazy. And I don't know. Oh, Addie is saying if you have 50 or more clients. Very interesting. That's crazy. Anyways, getting back to it, I think that Intuit is still giving you this, or ProTax is still giving you this free 15-minute onboarding call. So again, additional support that you have with Intuit to get help with ProTax, including onboarding. If you have used another tax program in the past and you're migrating to ProTax, you have the ability to import files from different tax returns. Just going to go over this quickly today as I talked about it in more detail yesterday. It's really nice here in that you can import these files, you can link them to a client in your QBOA client database, and then name the returns. You have the ability to import returns, but you also have the ability to carry forward. So just note that carrying forward is different than importing. If you have used Profile in the past, Profile is Intuit's desktop-based tax software, and ProTax uses the same tax engine that Profile does. This is the same tax engine that has been used since the 90s. If you've used Profile in the past, you can import your returns with Profile and then carry them forward to the current year. Okay, so here is the dashboard that you get once you go into the ProTax module. As you can see by number 1, we choose the module that we're going to be working with. Today we're talking about T2, but you do also have the ability to do T1s, T3s, and the Forms Explorer, which is like T4s, T5s, etc. within ProTax. Number 2 talks about bubble number 2 that you see there. When you have this database of all your clients, you want to be able to filter and search to make it easier to access a client directly. So if you've got pages and pages of clients in ProTax, you can search by client name. You can also filter by tax year. So very easy to do that, as well as filtering by the status. So that's the tax status. As you can see there, column 2, 3, 4, 5 is the status column. And that is where you'll see if a return is in progress, if it has been completed, etc., etc. Number 5 is the green little button there that's where you start a new return or create a new return. And we'll be going through that today. Right. And then number 6 talks about the returns themselves and the drop down that relates to each return. So with number 6, you have the drop down where you can view that return, you can carry forward a return, you can duplicate a return. So if you're looking at different tax scenarios, for example, and you need to duplicate it for some reason, and that is also where you can rename the T2. So as you can see in the return name there, that allows you to name returns whatever you want to. If your firm has specific naming conventions, then you will follow that for naming your returns, but ProTax has left it fairly open for you to name your returns that make the most sense to you. Cheryl's asking if there is a handout link for the session. I think there is usually, and I'm not sure if it follows this session or if it's before it, but we do have a document that is a really comprehensive document on ProTax and lists and goes into detail a lot more than what I'm talking about today. One other thing that I want to mention, if you are wanting to delete a return, you have to be in the return itself to be able to delete it. So that's a really important thing to note. So you can't delete returns from this main dashboard. You actually have to view the return, go into the return, and then from there, there is a drop-down box which I will be going through today, that you can delete the return. It's the same areas you find where you print the return, where you import Giphy, which we'll be talking about as well. Okay, so going a little bit more in depth into work papers. If your T2 client uses QuickBooks Online, then you can start the process with work papers. And work papers is that fully integrated ecosystem that allows you to look at your client's monthly bookkeeping, take it to the year end, and then file the tax return in that one ecosystem. So here we are in work papers. To access work papers, and this is really important because I get asked this question a lot as well, you have to be in your client's QBO file. So you have to be in your client's QuickBooks Online file to access the work papers that is specific to your client. I do get asked this question a lot. People say, well, I'm in QBO or QBOA, and we don't see how to access the client's work papers. So again, where you see here that test and example, that is the client name that is in the client. And then that is where you click on the books to tax to access the work papers area. So bubble number 1 here in the work papers dashboard shows you the fiscal year that you're going to be using. So here it's saying tax year 2023, and that year it aligns with the calendar year. In this case, it may not always, because the fiscal year can be any time during the year. And we see here it's January to December of 2023. The accounting method that is used is the accrual basis, which is the accounting method that we use for 99%, I would say, of clients in Canada. If your client is not a farmer or a fisher, I think those are the only 2 categories that they can use cash base of accounting, then you have to use the accrual basis. The books to tax actions dropdown is where you carry forward previous year's information. This is where you can export Giphy files from as well. So we'll talk about the tax mapping in the income tax tab in a second, and you can export your Giphy file to use in ProTax if you are not pulling forward from the work papers area. I'm just looking through some questions here. Example for a duplicate. Angelina, I think you're asking for a duplicate tax return. That's just where you click on that drop down. I hope I'm answering that question right. And then you use a duplicate. So if you've got a client that is trying out different scenarios that you want to use duplicates, a lot of it is for T1s, but can be used for T2s as well. And Denise is saying, I use work papers. If I use work papers, does that reflect on the client file? Therefore, if they leave our services and go to somewhere else, the other company has access to our working papers. So that will depend if the new company that's taken over is using QBOA. I don't know. Tanya could probably answer that better. I'm not sure if they would have access to previous work papers or not. I would.
It doesn't go between QBOAs. So
okay, awesome.
yeah.
Thank you, Tanya. You rock.
You're welcome.
So Tanya said that no. So that is, I guess that's a good privacy part of QBOA. Then anything that you and your firm has done to that, that does not allow that. Okay. Sorry, just one moment. Give me 1 second, please. Apologies. It's saying that there's smoke in my home, so on my alarm. So I am just getting somebody to check into that. Not at where I am right now, but at my home in Calgary. So sorry for that. Hopefully all is okay at my home. All right. Books to tax action. Okay, so we talked about that. You can also download your work papers pack, or so that's the work papers that you've done. So in the instance that another accountant is taking over and you want to provide that information, you can in the downloaded work papers pack. You can also lock the books to tax that you've used, so those work papers that you've used for the year. Also, number 4 there is the green button where you can start a return directly in ProTax. Okay, one moment. I apologize. I figured out the reason for the smoke. Sorry, give me 1 second. All right, I'm back. Super, super sorry. Yeah, there was somebody in our house, so that is the cause for the smoke they were cooking. I've never had that happen before. All right, apologies, everyone. Thank you, Cheryl. Yes, everything is okay at my house. Okay, so on we go. Okay, so the work papers tabs, number 5 that we see here, I'll be talking about each of those tabs as well. So starting with the next one, which is the year-end tasks. So built into Books and Tax and work papers is the full task system that allows you to customize tasks for you and those in your firm. You can delete tasks. There are tasks that are already there, kind of the main ones. You can delete those, you can edit them, and it's a really good collaborative tool for you and your team when you are going through the task list at year end for your clients. Something that you can also do, you can add in links. So something like the CRA's automobile rates, things like that. If you have links like that that you want to add into your task list, so that you or your team can access, it's very easy to add those URLs or those links in directly into your task management system. Also with that, we have the little clock that is the status. So here you can see the 3 items, the to-do, waiting. So if you're waiting on information from a client, or that task has been done and completed. So again, another really good collaborative tool between you and your team. The second little area there called documents, something that I absolutely love. When we're talking about and using ProTax, ProTax is a cloud-based system. Because you're accessing it through the cloud using your computer's browser, you can access that information from anywhere in the world 24/7. The beauty of that is when you are preparing year-end work papers, in addition to having QuickBooks Online for your clients, in addition to preparing their tax return in ProTax, you have the ability to attach documents. Documents that I always attach for clients, for example, would be incorporation documents. So those documents are stored securely in the work papers portal. You can access those from anywhere in the world. There are many times I have had clients call and say, if I'm traveling, they'll call and say, I need my incorporation documents, or I need a copy of my tax return. It is so awesome to have them stored directly in the documents area in both work papers and ProTax. So when you open the documents tab as well, you will see that work papers has created expandable folders based on your client's chart of accounts. So really important to note that that's on your client's QBO chart of accounts. You can also create general folders for other documents, such as I mentioned, the articles of incorporation. Something else that's really important to have on hand is the client's signed engagement letter. So having the ability to have clients signed engagement letters handy is really important. You can also click on folders from a template to import an existing folder structure from another client file. So if your firm has certain folder structures that they like to use as templates, then you can also import those as well. And I mentioned creating hyperlinks or you adding links, URLs. You can do this in this area as well. Okay, so the review and adjust tab, if you're used to working papers at year end and doing adjusting entries for your clients, specifically your tax clients, clients that you're preparing financial statements for, you use this review and adjust tab to analyze the accounts that are within your client's chart of accounts and to record all required adjusting entries as you see fit. This is the area that you can also add review marks, and you can attach any account-specific notes or documents. So again, getting back to that collaborative environment of collaborating with your team. If you can see there are two little check marks that are kind of grayed out. One of them is for the person doing the work papers, and then the second is for the reviewer. So once you click those, you'll have a green and then a blue tab. You can also click the slider as shown there in bubble number 1 to display the trial balance view with debit and credit columns. You can also click the printer icon to generate a hard copy of the trial balance. The gear icon is where you can add or remove columns. And then really importantly to note, you can also export as Excel to create a spreadsheet of that trial balance for you as well, if you need to do additional work in there. Okay, then we look to the grouping and statements. So the grouping and statements is where you create account groupings for your financial statements. So how you want to have those presented, how you want your financial statements to appear. For example, if you have 5 bank accounts and you just want to have one area on your financial statements that says cash or cash and cash equivalents, then you would create a group of those 5 bank accounts in there. You can create new groups in addition to what is already there. So you click create new group, and then in the window that opens, you enter the name of the new group, as you can see under group name. And if required, so if you're doing those work papers at year end and you have a reference code, you can also enter that, and you can enter notes as well. When you are working in Excel, you have expandable Excel groups. So that's really handy. First, you obviously have to view the export as Excel, as I talked about. And then when Excel opens, you use the expand and collapse items at the top to display or hide all of the detail of the accounts on the balance sheet or the income statement. So that's part of those groups that you've created. And then you click on Excel's tabs to view and edit the cover page, the compilation engagement report, for example, financial statements, lead sheet schedules, and the notes to the financial statements. So as we can see there on number 2, that's where we have our tabs that are already created for us when we click that export as Excel. All right. Let's get into tax mapping the T2. So in that third area, income tax, that's where we access the tax mapping for our T2. As a side note, if you have self-employed clients that are sole proprietors and you are preparing a T1 for them with that T2125 form, you can also do the Giphy mapping for that as well. Where you see the select a tax form here and it says T2 Corporation, that's where you have the drop down between the T1, T2125, that is a lot of T's, and the T2 Corporation. Okay, so what do I want to say here? You can preview the tax lines that QBOA has assigned to each account. In the example above, QB is showing one unmapped account. So the beauty of mapping the accounts, once you map them, that mapping carries forward year to year. But if you have added additional accounts in the current year, then QBOA will let you know that you have unmapped accounts, and it's super easy to map accounts. You just click on the account that you want to map. If it's already been mapped, you can also click on the pencil icon, and that same dialog box will pop up that says the assign tax line. And then you can map it to whatever line that you want to. You can search by the line name or number. So it's kind of cool in that sense. You don't have to know the Giphy code for it, obviously. If you want to search by the descriptive name, you can also do that. In this case, we're mapping computers original cost to the Giphy code 1774 computer equipment and software. Okay, so you can start a T2 directly from WorkPapers. So once you have verified those Giphy mappings, at that point, you are ready to start your T2. You click on that green bubble or green box that says Start Return in ProTax, and then you can confirm all of the information that is coming in from WorkPapers. So in this, we see the trial balance summary, we see what is mapped and the amounts. So that is a good area to confirm what is coming in for you from WorkPapers. Okay, so starting a T2 from WorkPapers, once you do that, once you click on that, ProTax will open at the general information page of your T2 return. You will note that it is automatically populated key corporate information from QBO, such as the legal name of the corporation, the business number, as long as you have entered those in QBO. It also includes fiscal year end and will include the Giphy information or that data from WorkPapers. If there is any information that is missing in there, you can also enter that at this point. Okay, so let's get into some things in working directly with ProTax T2 now that we are in the tax environment. I talked yesterday about the tax settings area in ProTax. I'm going to highlight that again today just briefly, but that is your global tax settings for ProTax. The way you access it is once you are in the dashboard for ProTax. So you have to be in the dashboard, I believe. I'm trying to think if you can be in a client's file. I don't think so. I think you have to be in the dashboard area to access the tax settings. Just noting as well that what's new section, important to view that, once in a while. That brings up the ProTax release notes. So all the changes and additions and improvements to ProTax. I was in the Toronto office a couple months ago and I saw what is coming in ProTax. So it is just getting better and better and better. There are a lot of new features that are coming as well to ProTax. Once you click on that tax settings area, you will see the following tabs at the top there. It's highlighted with the ProTax Labs right now, but all of these tabs, and I'll be talking about a couple of them today as well. Something else that we get asked a lot is engagement letters. So very important to have those engagement letters sent to your clients because you want to create an understanding of what is going to be happening in the engagement that you are doing for your client. So if it's preparing financial statements, if it's preparing their tax return, et cetera, you will want to have that engagement letter. And you will also want to have access to your client's information on the CRA's website. So again, we encourage all clients to have a CRA My account and a CRA My Business account. I'll be talking about that a little bit later as well. If you need to add that engagement letter to your client's tax file, you can use the quick bar at the top to search for compilation engagement letter. You can then preview it and click on it in the forms list as well. Okay, so adding additional forms to the tax return to your T2, That is that quick bar. You can see kind of on the screenshot that's on the right there under the CCPC sample. In that we see T2 and it's for tax year 2022. There is that quick bar. So a lot of functionality built within that quick bar in the search, in the adding of forms, etc., etc. Next to that, you see the taxable income, the balance owing, the e-file status, and the documents. So we'll be talking about the documents in a little bit. Again, super awesome ability to attach documents. Here we also see on number 2, that is the return actions area. So we'll be talking about the CRA's autofill my return. This is where you import Giphy files. You also have the ability to export to profile from ProTax. This is where you can also print your returns or print certain forms and letters, specifically letters that you want your clients to possibly sign for you as well. You can also duplicate returns. This is where you save and close the return as well. You can share the return. I'll try and go through that today. That gives a link so that anybody in your firm who has access, who you have granted access to that client and the return, you can share it through a link as well to make it a little bit easier. You can rename the return, and as explained, this is where you delete the return. In the e-file green button, this is where you access the e-file items, such as e-filing the T2 federal return. If you're in, say, Alberta, you can e-file the AT1 return. This is also where you can print off the business consent form. Now, the CRA for T2s, for corporate tax clients, has changed this process a lot, and it is now a lot more difficult to obtain business consent. Before, you could just use the electronic ability through tax programs such as ProTax, but now it is a little bit more complicated. That's why we advise you to have your clients have a CRA My Business account, because right from that account, they can grant you access. So it's a lot easier to do it in that sense. Of course, the Schedule 100 and 125 in the T2 is included in ProTax. Very important to have those schedules, and we'll be talking about the Giphy import for those schedules as well. And again, Schedule 100 and 125, Schedule 100 is the balance sheet, and Schedule 125 is the profit and loss statement. Okay. Capital cost allowance is also included in ProTax in the T2. You've got the ability to add your classes and to add items. We can, let me just see, looking at this on the left-hand side, that's where we add the forms and letters. On the right-hand side, so for example, in this, we're adding the Schedule 8. On the right-hand side, we're adding our class. Here we have Class 10 at 30%. Capital cost allowance depreciation in a sense. So you will want to add the forms S8 and S8 class to the tax return for any clients that have capital or fixed assets. It's also a really good idea to add the SA SUP form. That is the form that reconciles your net book value on your financial statements with Schedule 8. So that's that undepreciated capital cost. So it's the accounting and the tax side of things as well. Okay, all right. I'm just looking at my time here. We've got 25 minutes. I'll go through the Schedule 1 in there as well in the T2. On the left-hand side, that's showing you kind of the summary of the capital cost allowance calculations for you. On the right-hand side, we have Schedule 1. So that is our reconciliation between net income and then taxable income. All the different items that are different for accounting purposes versus tax purposes. So in here we've highlighted, and because you have entered the Schedule 125, 100 and 125, as well as the class Schedule 8 in your tax return, we will see that reconciliation. So here we have our amortization on our financials as 7,200. We add that expense back on to our tax return, and then we deduct the tax-based capital cost allowance for that on the Schedule 1. Schedule 141. Again, this is just additional information, and I'm going to be talking about the auditor. So I'm going to kind of just go over this quickly, but the auditor picks up all of these areas that may need information to file the tax return. And the auditor is a super important part of ProTax. It is your guide that gives you information on areas that might be wrong, incorrect, areas that are missed as well. So really important to have that auditor, and I'll be going through that in a moment as well. Schedule 3, dividends, so that's included as well in ProTax. Of course, all of the main schedules for tax returns are included in ProTax. Something that I also like to highlight are the colors and indicators of ProTax. If you have carried a tax file forward for a client, any carried forward amounts will be marked with a purple bar on the right-hand side of the field. If you are overriding a calculated field, that field will be shown in red. If you want to remove that override, you can clear the contents of that cell and then tab out. You can also remove overrides through the auditor in ProTax, and I will show you that in a bit. Blue means that it is calculated by that ProTax engine that has powered millions of tax returns. Those are the calculations by ProTax. And then if you want to find the source of those calculations, you very often will see an upward arrow. You can click on that. That'll take you to the source of those calculations. And then you can also jump right back to where it is, to the field that you have come from as well. So it's just nice to have that toggle back to there as well. Okay. Luke is asking, due to change in control of a client, will ProTax be able to file 2 tax returns for the same 2024 year? I have done that, yes, and you need to have you just need to manually overwrite the year-end date, possibly. As far as the QBO data coming from your work papers, that is a good question. If you are doing it in ProTax, and Tanya, you might be able to help me or assist with this, but in ProTax, you put the year-end start and the year-end end dates. So you may, I'm not sure if it enters, obviously for the end on Schedule 100, you're fine there because you've got the new year end. On Schedule 125, I'm not sure. So I don't know if you can answer that, Tanya.
This is for
If
Luke's
not,
question, right?
yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't 100% know the answer, to be honest, because I know that QBO cannot customize and lock off within the same file. So I was thinking if there was a change of control, if you kind of started a new QBO file for the customer, then it would work better. But that's the only workaround I can think of.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, interesting. We don't come into yeah, that doesn't happen very often. So I think I've only done it once or twice, and I think I did a Giphy import for those clients. So I'm not 100% sure. Okay, so speaking of Giphy imports, if you have clients that are not on QuickBooks Online, you can create a new return by clicking that same green button. Once you do that, you will have the 3 options for your data sources. So here you'll want to enter the client's name. If you already have a client in your QBOA database, so in your client database, even though they're not a QuickBooks Online account, QuickBooks Online customer, if they're in your database, you can pull them up from there. You can also just add them directly from here. You will enter the year-end start and date, or year start and the year-end date, name that return, and then you select your data source. So here you have the options of that QuickBooks client work papers. That is the Giphy mapping that comes directly from work papers. You also have the ability to upload a Giphy file. So if you have a Giphy file that has those Giphy codes and amounts in that, you can do that directly, or you can start a blank return, and I'll be doing an example of that today as well. Here it's showing you if you've uploaded a Giphy file. Again, same as having the work papers, you will get that summary that you can take a look through before you click continue. So that'll give you a summary of your Schedule 100 and 125 amounts that are related to Giphy. Okay, so talking about T2 autofill my return, very, very important as well to become a representative, get a rep ID. I talked about this a little bit yesterday as well. Having the ability to e-file and being a rep is different. So those are two separate application processes through the CRA. It's pretty easy to get started with each of them and to kind of go through that process. It can take 30 to 60 days to get approved by the CRA. You can just Google represent a client. Just make sure that you are on that canada.ca website. Once you are a rep for a client, that gives you access to all of the information that the CRA has on your client. And it also gives you the ability to autofill your return from that information. So any information that the CRA has on your client that you want to autofill, you have that ability by just clicking on the Return Actions button and that first area there where it says CRA autofill my return. Once you click on that, you will be taken to a web portal that will ask you to log in with your rep ID. Once you do that, on the left-hand side, it will show you the business number that you're requesting the tax information for. You then click Next. Once it has connected, it will say successfully connected. You can close that window. And then you see the third screenshot on the right there that selects the accounts on the return that you want to import. It will give you the year end that you want to. It's different than T1s because T1s, in general, you are creating a T1 for a specific year. You're importing information for that year. On the T2, it looks a little bit different. So just be cognizant of that as well. Then once you have selected that, you can take a look. It's really, there's a lot of things that you can do here. So bubble number one, if you want to see any discrepancies that are in your return versus what the CRA has, you can have just those discrepancies show, or you can have all the amounts show. So very easy to do that. Accounts on return, to import all data into the T2, you can click the accounts on return. You can look at the discrepancies between the CRA and your T2 by expanding all as well, that little blue area there that says expand all. And then once you have completed the process, once you want to look and review everything, you click the import selected. After ProTax confirms that the import has been done, it will give you this information that says we've imported client data from CRA. It's loaded into the return. Then you simply click on continue, and then you can continue working on the client's T2 return as we have described. So wrapping it up, want to talk about the auditor. I'm going to go through this quickly in the live demo as well. The auditor is on the right-hand side. Normally you're in the forms. That's where you see the list of all of your forms. In those forms, you have the data input section and the PDF view of each form. Then on the right-hand side, you click auditor, and that gives you 4 different areas here. Here we can look at issues. So these are issues that are preventing your T2 from being e-filed. So you want to ensure that you clear all these issues. Things that happen often, like on the Schedule 100, where your total assets do not equal the total liabilities and equity. Things that are missing, things that are incorrect. The warnings are things that look like they could be incorrect, or things that the auditor wants to draw your attention to ensure that you fix those. you will see in those areas little grayed out check marks. If you want to clear those, you can click on those check marks. If they haven't cleared once you fix those areas, you can also click, if things that you don't necessarily need to fix or clear, you can click on that little grayed out check mark. It will turn green, and then you know that that's been handled. You can see the amount of auditor issues up there. In this case, it's showing 14. So once you have cleared all of those areas, then it will show 0, which is ideally what you want before you complete and submit the tax return. The sign-offs, so when you are looking at areas that you want to sign off as a preparer for that tax return, as well as the overrides. So that is the area where you have overridden cells. You can look at which cells have been overridden, and you can, if you want to remove the override, you can do that from there as well. Again, in return actions, you can print the return. I always print the return in PDF format, then I attach that document in up here where you see the documents, which we'll be talking about as well. You can also, once you record that tax provision in QuickBooks Online, if your client is on QuickBooks Online, you can also print the return and attach it there as well. Okay, so some other things that I want to highlight. E-filing, obviously very important. The CRA is moving to accepting only e-filed returns. You have to have an e-file number and a password. You have to renew that yearly once you've signed up. Very easy to register. Just Google e-file CRA and make sure again that you're on the Canada.ca website. Interesting to hear about the e-filer with the CRA not supporting certain, if you only have 5 returns or whatever was mentioned today. Yeah, that's crazy because you'd think that they'd be making it easier and easier to e-file. Again, in ProTax, you can also use web access codes as well. Note again that you have to, oh, go ahead.
Just updated this. I posted a link. It actually says on the CRA website, they'll deny access to e-file if you file a minimum number of returns. So it doesn't actually say 5, but I think a lot of times people only file 5 or something and they're denied.
Right.
But they will deny access if they don't think you're an actual preparer.
Interesting.
And I posted the link in a question there.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Duncan. Appreciate that. I think that was Duncan talking. We've got a few Intuit support teams. Oh, it was. Okay, awesome. I can't see on my screen, so I can't tell. But yes, thank you, Duncan. Again, another.
I was just going to say I'm Val, but I guess I can't now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Throw Val under the bus, but in a good way, I guess. So thank you, Duncan. Thanks, Duncan.
I do have a link though, and it does say on their. It doesn't say on the application for e-filing.
Okay, perfect.
But it does say on the e-file information like that I posted.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. And I think I'm taking you to the CRA's website today. I can't remember actually, but I'll be heading there shortly. Anyways, e-filing super easy. On the e-file screen, you click the e-file button, click your federal return. Once you're there, you will see that screenshot on the right. You have to have your e-file number and your password input. Note that ProTax will highlight areas that need attention to before you e-file if it sees them in the auditor. So see that red box with the highlighting around it? It says 15 issues preventing filing. Please fix the issues before continuing. So it's good to have that additional check there. A couple other things, the live auditor and quick mode. These now appear in the tax settings area of ProTax. So when you were in a client's tax return, or sorry, when you were in the dashboard in the global settings, they used to appear at the top right here of a client's tax return, but that has been moved to the global settings. The live auditor will highlight in orange around a box that it thinks looks to be incorrect. So it's a really nice way as you're going through the client's tax return to be able to see fields that look like they could be incorrect. You can toggle that on or off. Quick mode, if you have a really bad internet connection and very low bandwidth needed for doing ProTax, you can click that quick mode on. For most people, I say keep it off, because what quick mode does is it stops the calculating instantly or very quickly after you enter information into a cell. And that is just for low bandwidth. I see that we only have 10 minutes left. So going through documents, again, love this area, love the ability to attach documents within ProTax. These documents sit in the cloud, so they are accessible 24/7 from anywhere in the world. And you have access to the different areas once you click documents. So on the right-hand side where you see ProTax, those are documents that are sitting directly in ProTax. If your client is using QuickBooks Online, there is a really good way of communicating with your client through requesting documents and having them send you documents as well in QuickBooks Online. So you can see those directly when you're in ProTax. If you have used the work papers and attached documents there, you can also see that. If you are submitting forms like T1134s, forms like that you were submitting to the CRA that has additional attachments or different documents required as part of that submission, you will see that in the for CRA submission when you have done that. So just note that documents that are sitting in ProTax, in the ProTax area, those are for your use only. Those aren't submitted to the CRA. You will see for CRA submission. That's where you'll see documents that are submitted to the CRA aside from the tax return. So just note that that's an important distinction to make as well. Okay, here we're just talking about the engagement letter. Documents you can drag and drop, or you can click on the upload button to get those documents in there, and it will open your Explorer tab as well. Again, the CRA submission tab, when you're in there, here we are. So here's the T106, T1134, T1135. You select the form type, you can drag and drop your document into there, and then you can click Start CRA Submission for that. Okay, going through Intuit Sign, I touched on this yesterday as well. It is the ability to get electronic signatures on certain documents for your clients. It was released at the end of 2023. It has just gone through a full upgrade. Love the new graphical user interface, the GUI, as we talk about in the tech world. It's really easy to navigate. Intuit Sign allows forms to be electronically signed. It works with ProTax T1 and T2. And also note that it is CRA compliant. So if you are using other electronic, like DocuSign, things like that, just note that a really big advantage of Intuit Sign is it is CRA compliant. So nice to have that assurance that it complies with the CRA standards. And the best yet is that it's included at no additional cost with ProTax. Just very quickly, when you were in the dashboard where you see T1, T2, T3, and Forms Explorer, that's where you see the e-signature. That is the dashboard showing you all of the different things that you've sent out for e-signatures. It will also show you the status, the client is related to, the documents that are included there, and you can download once you have got those signatures. Then what I always like to do, I like to attach those documents to ProTax, such as the signed T183, especially if it's electronically signed, if you scanned it in and you've had your client sign it manually as well. When you were in the client's tax return, that is where you request the e-signatures. So here we see the T183 and the business consent form. That is where you do it in the client's tax return. Once you do that, you'll be taken to the signature request page, and you've got the 4 areas as you scroll down. So if you're uploading documents, attaching in different documents, You can have, it will show you the list of your documents, showing here the T183 for 2024. Second off, that's where you select your recipients. And just added is the ability to have access codes generated, or ones that you provide, to ensure your client's security, that those documents are being signed by the correct person. Previous, it was only verified on cell phone records. Here's where you create the message. You put in your own subject if you want to, your own email message, and you can preview it as well to see what it will look like. And I love this feature of the reminders and expiration. So you don't have to manually send out reminders to get your clients to do those electronic signatures. ProTax will do it for you based on the options that you choose. If for some reason you do not see it in your main portal, you can access the Intuit sign and turn it on through the ProTax Labs. But I think everybody should see that now in their main dashboard. One other thing that I want to highlight, Get Connected in 2025, registration is now live for that. So Vancouver, Montreal, and Toronto. I will be at the Vancouver and Toronto ones. Tanya will be at all three. It is an awesome time to learn about QuickBooks Online, to learn about ProTax. I think in Toronto and maybe Vancouver this year, Jade Simmons is doing the keynote. She is unbelievable. I've seen her in person before present. She is great. It's a ton of learning, very low cost. These events are great, and Intuit subsidizes the cost for these in many ways for you. So great things to attend. Here are QR codes to sign up for Get Connected 2025. And they're coming up. Well, actually, Montreal is at the end of this month, but the other two are in June. So looking forward to that. ProTax resources, I'm going to go through super quick. These are just the ways to that what's new, etc., events and webinars. Now I'm going to take you to ProTax itself. Okay, so here we go. Here we are in QBOA, so QuickBooks Online Accountant. That is where we see the Pro Advisor. This is our training portal. Really important to visit this. It is access to upcoming webinars, all of that kind of stuff. So today's webinar would have been on there. QuickBooks Payroll, Books to Tax, all of that stuff happening here. To access ProTax, here you go. I'm going to do into the T2 corporate. This is just a test area, so that's why we get that functionality there, or that dialog box there. I'm going to create a new return. I'm going to do it on, what is there's a ton of them out there that we have. Which one? Oh, I'm going to do the Craig's Landscaping. So I'll do that one for 2024, sure. Just quickly do it. I'm actually going to start it as a blank return, and I'll show you a couple things here. Because if you accidentally start as a blank return, you're not lost if you still want to do that Giphy import or import from your work papers. Here we come up to the T2. I've shown you all these areas with the forms. Here we have the auditor. If we have a form like, say, the Schedule 100, we're going to take a look at super quick. It's blank. We don't have anything in it. Click on the PDF form. Oh, I guess I've imported previously. What I wanted to show, oh no, here we go. It's showing as blank. If we forgot to do our Giphy import, we can upload a Giphy file directly from here. We will upload this one here. Once we do that upload, instantaneously, we will see the information come through to us. This is our data input screen. Then once we click the PDF form, we will see that that will fill for us. So there we have that Giphy import. Simple as that. Something else that I want to mention, the auditor. So I talked about the issues, the warnings, the sign-offs, and the overrides. So for example, here we're seeing total assets do not equal total liabilities on the Schedule 100, 125. Click on it, it takes us directly to that area. So very handy to have that. Warnings. So for example, a business number is required on this. We've forgotten to enter the business number. So there we have that. And see that orange? That is our quick auditor that instantly fills out orange and lets us know that we have something missing or incorrect. Documents functionality, like I talked about. Here we are in the file, so we have the return actions. We can request the e-signatures, do the e-files, and I'm over time. I have over-talked, so apologies for that. Going back, we can click the save and close here. Again, here we have the dashboard. This is where we have our what's new section and our tax settings section, importing returns, etc., etc. So thank you so much for attending today's webinar. Hopefully you learned a lot from the webinar today, and looking forward to having you at our next webinar. Again, a lot of online resources. Thanks for everybody who has joined. There will be a follow-up CPD certificate sent to you along with a questionnaire. So please fill out that questionnaire. I'm obviously trying my best to get as much information to you. Intuit's doing the same. So let us know how we are doing, and we will see you at the next webinar. Thanks everybody so much. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.